case the Prime Minister hasn't noticed, the Labour Party is under new management.
The management may be new, but Keir Starmer is facing the same old problems. He's already been in office for 4 months, but today he got to work on ending the Jeremy Corbyn era. Top of his in tray was dealing with historic allegations of anti-Semitism.
Just over a year ago, we blew the whistle on Labour's anti-Semitism problem on BBC Panorama. In response to the programme, the Labour Party launched a vicious and defamatory attack on our motives and characters. Today, the Labour Party accepted that their comments were untrue and have unreservedly apologised for them.
Labour also apologised to the journalist John Ware, who made the documentary, which revealed a litany of failures on how anti-Semitism complaints were dealt with behind closed doors. But some didn't welcome today's outcome.
Should Labour have apologised today?
No apology, in fact, no words at all in public. Instead, the former Labour leader took to Facebook to complain that the decision was disappointing and risks giving credibility to misleading and inaccurate allegations. But for those who spoke out, they are still feeling the effects of the attack that came right from the top.
It's been extremely painful to have the Labour Party, which is my party, repeatedly repeat those defamatory statements. It's been, it's like being hurt by your own family.
Last year, when Panorama first aired, the then Labour leadership came out fighting. In response, they issued a comprehensive rebuttal statement that ran to over 3,000 words, in which they dismissed whistleblowers as disgruntled former staff with a political axe to grind. Now, a year on and under new management, the party has taken a very different tone today. In a much shorter statement, they apologise unreservedly for any harm that was caused during that period, and they say that they've agreed a settlement with former employees that Channel 4 News understands will be worth hundreds of thousands of pounds. But that big cash payout sparked criticism from one of Jeremy Corbyn's closest allies and biggest financial backers, union boss Len McCluskey, who said on Twitter that it was a misuse of party funds. Like many Corbyn allies, though, his influence is waning, soon to step down as head of Unite.
I think more than just the monetary cost, which I do think is important that we settled today, but it's also about the human cost and the upset and the trauma that people feel, and it was important that we did something to acknowledge that as well.
A new approach on an old issue, and next on Labour's agenda was Russia.
Let's start on toxicity.
Under Jeremy Corbyn, appearances on Russia Today were part of Labour politics, but the Kremlin-controlled TV station has long been implicated in Russian attempts to subvert UK democracy. And after yesterday's bombshell Russia report, Keir Starmer today changed tack.
Does the Prime Minister agree with me that it's time to look again at the licensing for Russia Today to operate in the UK?
Mr. Speaker, I think this would come more credibly from the Leader of the Opposition had he called out the former Leader of the Opposition when he took money for appearing on Russia Today.
No frontbencher of this party has appeared on Russia Today since I've been leading this party.
A new leader looking for a new start, but with the legacy of Labour's past still lingering and another anti-Semitism report due out this autumn, he won't be getting it anytime soon. Yes, so really interesting today to see Keir Starmer try to distance himself from his predecessor, Jeremy Corbyn, on these two key issues, anti-Semitism and Russia, that have caused a lot of problems for the party in the recent past. So a clear change in direction, obviously focused on winning back some of those voters that they've lost. So obviously the Jewish community, but also in terms of foreign policy, they will be looking to those red wall seats, the Labour heartlands that they lost at the last election, with what could be seen as a more patriotic message on that issue. The problem, though, for Keir Starmer, and Boris Johnson raised it in the Commons today, is that when others in his party were criticising Jeremy Corbyn on these issues from the backbenchers, he was serving as a senior member of his shadow cabinet, and his political opponents will say, as they have done today, how can you distance yourself from him now when you have supported him publicly for many years? And I think amid all the political rhetoric today, he still doesn't have an answer to that question.
Thanks, Liz. Well, we can speak to Ruth Smeeth now, who was the Labour MP for Stoke-on-Trent and says she received abusive treatment because of her Jewish faith within the Labour Party. I just want to ask you, first of all, Ruth Smeeth, if you would, what has today's decision meant to you?
Oh, on a personal level, I think it's just a relief. It shows that the Labour Party leadership is taking it seriously, that we really are under new management, and that I hope by the end of the year, when we've come through the EHRC report, when we've come through, the ongoing rows and nightmare and misery of anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, that we will be able to close the chapter, and this will just be viewed as a horrible moment in Labour Party history that everybody should learn from, but we never have to talk about in the current context ever again.
Well, the Attorney General, Lord Faulkner's echoing what you said today, saying this brings a disastrous chapter to an end. But is that true, though? Is it likely that this will draw a line under this? It's not, is it?
It's not. I mean, this is one step on that journey. We've got the EHRC report into the Labour Party, which should be published, I hope, in early September. And let's be clear, of the whistleblowers who got their full and absolute deserved apology today, they represent 7 of 70 whistleblowers of former Labour Party staff and current Labour Party staff who have given sworn testimony to the EHRC. I think today is a vindication both for the whistleblowers who were in Panorama, but also the other 63 members of Labour Party staff who they represent. So this isn't over by any stretch of the imagination, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. And after the last 4 years, that is a huge personal relief.
But at the same time, you have the former Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn, coming out today saying this was a political decision, not a legal one.
Well, I think Jeremy should have been much more considered in his response. In fact, I don't think Jeremy should have given a response. He is no longer part of the Labour leadership. He is history and a very, very sad chapter. He's a former leader of the Labour Party, and but I think there should have been a period of silence would have been welcome. And it is convention that former leaders of political parties give space for their successors in order to assert themselves. Obviously, that isn't what Corbyn's decided to do. I find it extraordinary that you'd make an intervention yet again on an issue of anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, rather than acknowledge your culpability and what happened on your watch. I mean, this is ludicrous, and his very actions today will ensure that this is an ongoing battle within the Labour Party.
But the reality is he will speak for a section of the Labour Party who will, as he clearly is, will be disappointed by Keir Starmer's move on this.
Well, it's the bit that makes me so sad. The idea that you would be disappointed that, A, we have settled with whistleblowers, people who put themselves on the line. These were overwhelmingly very young people who stood up and exposed something that they thought was happening in the Labour Party, and at huge personal cost, both in terms of their careers, but also their health and their mental health. The idea you would continue this appalling attack on them is just disgraceful to me. He may well be speaking for a bit of the Labour Party, but you have to ask, why is this the issue that they want to die on a hill on? I still don't understand how we got to this place and why Jeremy didn't shut it down when he could have at any point over the last 4 years.